Hello everyone. Here we are again. This is the second video that I mentioned in the previous video about your timeline design and how you can add to it. So this video is titled Cause, Effect, Sentence Starters. What's this whole deal about? Well, first off, I am going to give you a hard copy of this document so that you have something to write on and to turn in. The purpose of this video is to explain to you this document and how you're going to use it for your timeline project and how it's going to help you when you get ready to do the voiceover for your timeline design. What you're looking at is sentence starters. And what's a sentence starter? Well, in a sense, it already tells you it's a way to start your sentence for something that is related to cause and effect. And for our timeline, basically you want to let the viewer, listener, know how these events, these causes added to the American Revolution. And so the hope is that this document helps you think about the causes that eventually led to the American Revolution. So here are some questions to think about as you think through your timeline. What is it that happens? Well, the American Revolution is what happens. What causes it to happen? And this is where your images, the events you chose, come into play. And then you have the question, well, what is the effect? Well, the effect is the American Revolution ultimately occurring because of all these causes, all these events. And then you have what are the important factors that cause this effect? And here is where you chose 3 events, 3 causes, and your partner chose what they considered, what he or she considered important factors that cause the effect, which is the American Revolution. So in a sense, you are already doing this, thinking as you are putting together your images to correspond with the event that you chose, which in a sense is also the cause, right? And so the language to use when describing the cause and effect, these are some really nice individual words to use. Because, this led to, as a result, so, therefore, if then, for this reason, another reason, and consequently. So these are nice words to keep in mind because when you do your voiceover, when you're explaining the causes of the American Revolution and you're talking about the events that you have here, you want to use those words because of this, therefore, so, if then, anything that you feel fits nicely and that you're able to articulate by using these words. Now, I also provided sentence starters, which is obviously the name of the document, sentence starters. If this, then that. If this, it will lead to that, and as a result, the American Revolution. The effect of this is this. One reason that the colonists participated in the Boston Tea Party is because, and then this is what happened as a result of that. Another reason why the colonists did this is because, or these factors can lead to, or in the case of our timeline, these factors led to the American Revolution. I know this because on page, and then you can also use this particular sentence starter to help you point out a page in the text that helped you get information. And you can cite it, most definitely. I know this because on page, the text states, absolutely you can do that as you are doing the voiceover and explanation of your timeline. Now, this is for reference, all this side of the page. The page that I will need to look at, that you will need to complete, looks like this. And you will need to get this turned in, and I need to see it, read it, and approve it before you do the voiceover for your timeline. Let's take a look at it. Obviously, your info here, writing the cause and effect paragraph. And this is interesting. This is good for you to know. Ultimately, what you have here when you finish writing up every section is a paragraph, a nice size paragraph, which you have experience with already because we already did an opinion paragraph, but this will be a slightly longer paragraph. Anyway, cause and effect, right? causes of the American Revolution. You have decided, your partner has decided, chosen one cause, another cause, and a third cause of the American Revolution. So you're going to write it here. If you chose the Boston Tea Party, that's what you write. If you chose the English Bill of Rights, that's what you write, and so on and so forth on the lines here. Then the following lines, you are to write specific examples, proof, details, in a sense, basically explaining how this event counted towards the effect. And the big effect was the American Revolution. And so here again, you write examples, proof, details, explanation of how this caused the American Revolution. And then lastly, your third event that you consider as a cause for the American Revolution. And so here again, your examples, your proof, your details, your explanation. There really is no, I don't believe a right or wrong. Well, no, let me take that back. There is a wrong. It has to make sense. You almost have to put yourself in the shoes of a fourth grader, explaining it to a fourth grader. This, and this were causes of the American Revolution. And not necessarily in order, right? Because on your timeline, you chose events that probably didn't go necessarily back to back to back. Maybe it's several years later, years later, not so much decades, sorry, years later, that this occurred. As we saw in the timeline of our textbook on page 104, within the timeline, mostly things that took place happened all within the same decade of the 1700s. So we're dealing more with the span of years in between. At any rate, you want to explain this in a sense that gives the listener a good idea of what occurred that led to the American Revolution. And also don't feel that for the voiceover, it will be problematic if your partner has an event that happens way much into the future or too close to yours or before yours, like in the case of this. It doesn't matter. Do not worry about that. I will help you with that because with the voiceover, you can take turns talking depending on the year in which your event took place. So you can take time, I'm sorry. It's been a long day. Sorry, guys. Take turns in reading your parts or straight through. It just depends on how your years are laid out on the timeline. All right, that's all I want to say. So just reread this, understand it, put it into use. I will need to see words like because, as a result, so for, therefore. I will want to see sentence starters when you are writing this. Now, some of you may not need it at all. I know some of you may not. But I think a lot of you will benefit from it because these are, after all, sentence starters. It's going to help us put our thoughts together, much like our clarifying bookmark does in terms of starting our thoughts. Okay, so definitely good words to use here for sure when you're dealing with describing cause and effect. Some nice sentence starters as you develop your paragraphs for your 3 different causes. All right, hope these 2 videos work out for all of you, and